So hopefully I can record this and have it all in one video. My dog's Zeke over there keeps barking at things. So I have these beautiful microphones. I'll actually link them below. I have this set and then another set that hooks up to my iPhone. These black ones hook up to my PC. So it's Brandy and I'm trying to figure out the lighting here. It's not very flattering with my cheeks. All right, so I guess we're just gonna have splotchy cheeks today. How's that, you guys? Beautiful. It's the lighting though. It's not really my face per se. It's the lighting. Anyway, so I wanted to hop on real quick because I have been doing a lot of dream work. I said in some of my videos, I think, at least on Instagram, that I have my spiritual workbook here, and I've been journaling since January 27th when I first was in like what you want to call a portal. For 3 hours, I was sitting at my table and I was doing tarot card readings for my light, my tarot for light seers card. I have a huge book, right? This is the only one I bought this big book for. And so last night I had this epiphany, this like aha moment of that also led to an oh poop moment where I was like, yes, spiritually speaking, this makes so much sense, and holy crap, and like my own little portal of experience where I'm like, yeah, this makes so much sense to me. This makes sense in a spiritual realm way, maybe not on the 3D. I can't figure it out, and that's what kind of brought me back down to earth, going, okay, back in my day, I would have just gone with whatever felt right. I wasn't as whimsical as some people are, but I had this deep knowing that something was right or something wasn't right. I was very easily detached from outcomes of situations naturally, I guess, which I just remembered when I had this tarot card reading today. So today I was asking my deck, this deck particularly because I'm very bonded with this deck. Again, it's just a tool to kind of communicate, try to figure out, I believe the answers come from my guides or from God. It comes from the universe. It doesn't come from me. But the more intuitively connected to my higher self and to God that I become, I noticed how spot on these cards really seem. And no, they do not always tell me favorable things. I know I need to do a lot of parts work, which Noko used that term. It's shadow work. And I've actually been setting intentions before bed to work through shadow work in my sleep. It seems to be when I can really just kind of detach the ego and work very deeply on some really ridiculous things, and the things coming through on dreams are actually pretty fascinating. I had a recurring dream 2 nights, 3 nights now ago that was used to be scary to me, and now it's fascinating, and I find myself seeing the symbolism in it way more than I could over the years when I was having this recurring dream. I was like, whoa. I literally was blown away with the symbolism that came to me, and it actually came to me as I was sending a voice memo to my friend Noko, who I feel like we somehow have this spiritual connection, this soulful connection where we ignite each other's like creativity, and it's just crazy. There's only really been one other human on earth like that was the male counterpart of what Noko is to me, and we kind of screwed up, me and the male counterpart. So I do believe that he feels my creativity, but when we were together, our inner child went, you know. Um, but Noko is a very similar thing to me, where I feel like, and I've noticed that we both have this ignition switch for each other that's in a good flow way, where we're almost like building this trust bridge again, through our communication, which is also helping expand both of our intuitive capabilities, which is just it's beautiful. I pray everyone finds like these connections like that, even if they only last a season. Um, so today I'm going to get back to the detached from outcomes, and something I've noticed about myself, that I am detached from outcomes, which I think helped me be a better parent to some level. I know that not everything I did had the outcome of that I intended it to have, and that's because even though they're my children, we all are different individuals and we perceive things differently. And I'm also living in a human world, so no matter how intuitive I become, no matter how much I try to make the right decisions, I still am a being of love and light, and not always the love and light for me matches what my children need. Um, and so as they're older now, and one is 16 and a half now, the youngest, I'm realizing that it's kind of my time to dabble in what is it that I really need as a whole, as a community. What is really this connection I have within my family unit, my household unit? What is this connection that I'm sensing in my dreamland? And what is God trying to tell me? And to surrendering to God to open the right path that will make sense for me, rather than in the past I would make a human choice, meaning I would get this feeling, this download, so to speak, and I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't right for me. I have to make these decisions, make a checklist, and make it happen, right? Um, well, I think that that's important to do in some instances. If you feel abused, if you feel so weighed down that you have to make the task list to get out so you can have some breathing room. I understand that. I've been there as well. So I'm not going to dismiss abusive situations. But if you're in a relatively calm, maybe not healthy, but you're in a calm environment where you do have the freedom and the space to work through your things, just be honest with the people around you, is all I say. As I am, I'm as honest as I can possibly be, while also being gentle to people's feelings, and then just work through your stuff the best you can. So I'm in a calm space that is peaceful, um, and so I'm working through some of these things, which is beautiful. I'm also in the White Mountains, which seems to have enhanced some of my connection to God, which is just, they call it God's country for a reason, my friends. Like, if you have not been up in a mountainous region, you don't necessarily need to hike, but just like maybe go stay a month in a mountainous region. I'll tell you, like up here in northeast New Hampshire, northern New Hampshire, it has been beautiful. Let me pause this because he's barking. Okay, so intuitively speaking, I would always follow my guide. So anyway, what I was saying is mountain. Anyone should spend a month near the ocean and or in a mountainous region for a month at least. I know when I go to the ocean, I went with my daughter in March of 2023 or 2024, and I was like in a trance walking along the ocean to the point where she was like, Mom, where did you go? Like, you were just like, forget my adult child. Like, I was just in a zone. She was 18, so 18, I think she was 18 or 19. So anyway, it was a few years ago. And so anyway, I was always good at just really doing what I needed to do and making it happen. But lately I've been feeling this mission to surrender to God, surrender to the universe, while doing inner shadow work, while reconnecting to my feminine energy and learning to let down my masculine guard that's been up for so many years. That's, probably not only from my experiences, from ancestral experiences. I'm learning now, like years and years of this ingrain of, it was either two extremes, a very independent woman or a woman that absolutely needs to be in a partnership. I get that feel for my ancestors when I do my work. So I leaned into the I'm going to just trust myself because I'm the only one I can count on kind of mentality. That's what I leaned into, which means that I was more in my masculine energy than my feminine. And to be a healthy human, I think that you have to have kind of this nice yin yang balance of both. That's a lot of times why a masculine and feminine energy is needed in a relationship, because they balance each other, right? They keep each other accountable. They keep each other heard, loved, listened to. So today I just want to share, and it's now 8 minutes into it. I hope you will stay and listen to what I drew for a card today, because it is like, whoa. So when I do my cards for myself, I don't do readings for other people. I mean, maybe someday I will be called to do that, but I'm really not called to do it. I use it for myself and some guidance. And what I will do is you just shuffle the cards, right? And as you get better at it, you will be intuitively guided to pull a certain card. I think that my daughter does like 3 deck and then she pulls the top card or something like that. But I'm very like, okay, what card feels right? Because I'm very in touch with that kind of instinctual feeling. This is what works for me. And so sometimes I actually have cards fly out at me. For example, when I was thinking of my current scenario, what to do, I only wanted to pull one card from my Twin Flames deck, and I pulled 2 cards. This was the other day. These 2 cards, by the way, keep coming out. So talk about synchronicities. I'm pretty sure these 2 cards are some magical powers I need to work on as it pertains to my current like relationship, family life, etc. Because they keep coming about. So you can't tell me it's random. I know it's not random. I think that people who have experienced this know it's not random. It's just those of you who have not done this, who have been raised to think that it's witchcraft or these sort of things. I'm just trying to encourage you to know that it's not. I don't think it is. I think it's just another tool to help you connect with God. And as with any tool, it can be used for the dark side or the light side. And I just happen to use it for the light side. And I know many people who use it for the light side, okay? The key is to clear your space, ask for guidance to be your best good at your highest self. So you want to set that intention before you do anything with any tools, because otherwise you could bring in accidentally some dark energy that is not with your best intentions in mind. Okay, so here we have it. Today I did all of those intention settings. I shuffled the deck and I did it, and I was drawn to Page of Cups, and I've actually never pulled this card before. So I was like, whoa, it's something new. Holy crap, I'm getting new information. Because I'll be honest with you, most of the time I'm not getting new information. I get a lot of the same stuff, which means I haven't worked through enough to get to that next level. That's how I feel intuitively about it. So I pulled the Page of Cups, and it's a man sitting here, and the pigs are flying, and there's like a bull up there, and he's kind of floating in the air, and a dreamer, which is so relatable. I am a dreamer. I'm a creative soul, and but there's love. There's love here, and within the love is a nice symbol, and there's some spirals in here, which is something coming up in my life a lot lately, and yeah, so it makes me laugh because when pigs fly is often a saying for like things that people think are not possible. But in this card, it's showing me that things are possible. So I went into my handy dandy book, which helps me understand this a little more. And the light side of this card, it says new, unexpected trajectories, a dreamer, serendipity, creativity, magic and synchronicity, an open and joyful heart, sensitivity and naivety and romance, being motivated by innovative ideas. And then the shadow seer is missing the signs, being overly sensitive, displaying childish emotions, blocked creativity. So hold on a minute, and I will pause this for a second. My son's in the room. Okay, lots of interruptions this morning, but you know, you only have this one life in this one moment, so I'm going to pause the video when I need to. When people come in, my son wakes up, he's 18, he wakes up in the morning, comes in and says good morning to the dogs. Not me, the dogs. Alright, so when I read the light seer and shadow side, I must admit that the shadow seer was like, am I missing the signs? You know, am I being overly sensitive? Am I displaying childish emotions? And do I block creativity, right? So, why is this blurry? There we go. So, you know, I have to be open to the card and wonder intuitively, is it showing me like my shadow side's too much or my light side's too much? Like, what is this card really telling me? And so I had to sit with this for a minute, and apparently we're having dogs play in the background. They play like weird, but I have weird dogs, which makes sense because I'm weird, so, or whatever you want to call me. So I sat here and I was like, no, childish emotions maybe, overly sensitive not so much lately, and blocked creativity. I was experiencing blocked creativity for a while until I regained some sort of connection with certain people, and then I'm like, whoa, all creative again. So I do think that this is showing me the light seer. It reminding me to be open to new and unexpected trajectories, to know that what's meant to happen, I am right in feeling that, and that I've always been good at detaching from outcomes. So I need to remember that about myself. I need to remember that. I'm not going to read the rest because I read it myself, and this is what came to me as I read like the whole paragraph about the card. I realized that it's when I asked the cards, which I'm not telling you because it's a personal, you know, question, but when I asked it with my intent, with tears almost, because I felt like so longing to have some guidance, this card is telling me, hey, Bran, you've always made choices based on your on the signs that you are. Oh my gosh, I hope this wasn't covering all my sound. I'm sorry, I hope not. You've always made choices based on your intuitive guidance, even though most of the times they made no sense. When I started working from home as a virtual assistant in 2006, pregnant with my second kid, like everybody was like, you're crazy, right? As I continued working on the computer, people were saying, get off the computer, you know, what are you doing? Go get a job, you know, all these things. But I knew this was what I was supposed to do. And as much as it was frustrating and hurting my feelings that these people were saying these things, I didn't stop the mission. I didn't stop what I knew was right for me. I knew I didn't want to go to work and go pay 100, 200, 300 a week for babysitter. That's stupid. I wanted to be part raise my children. I had skills I could put to work on the computer, right? I took the time and learned how to build websites. I learned how to set up email accounts, and most recently I've had to learn how to do a different website and email things that are more advanced because the times change and you have to keep updating your skills. And so I'm continuously learning in ways that open my mind to new ways to go along my path in life. And it's beautiful and I love it. I love every challenge and new opportunity that arises. So oftentimes I feel stagnant in the same place too long, right? I start to lose creativity. I get this blockage because I believe wholeheartedly that in my life there's things that serve certain seasons, and for about half my life now, being a mom has been my sole purpose. So everything I have done, most things I should say, I have done have been for my children. And unfortunately, when I leaned into something that felt right for me, it created chaos in the parent side, to the point where I didn't even know what to do, and I was so anxious and so overwhelmed that almost like this ADHD autistic kind of tantrum. It was like, this has to go. And it just so happened that I was being recorded against my knowing, for reasons I comprehend and understand why someone would do that, but still, you don't do those things to people, right? You communicate. But I get it. Like, I can understand it doesn't make it right, but I can understand that when there's lack of communication between two people, be it relationship, friendship, whatnot, like, especially when one person has kids and one person does not, you can definitely get in this roller coaster thing, right? And then later on, as you have time to evaluate and you get away from that, like, whatever feelings you left that relationship with, you can sit in that situation and be like, okay, what is it I need to know from this, God? What is it about this relationship that I had to have in my life, that I brought into my life? What is it that I need to know? And my answers lately have been mind blowing, uh, confusing on the human level, but not confusing on the soul level. And so I needed guidance. Like, what am I supposed to do? And I think I'm just supposed to trust God. I'm supposed to remember who I am. I'm supposed to detach from outcomes and continue being the creative soul I'm meant to be. I'm working on a book through her eyes. Like, oh my goodness, like, this whole situation is giving me so much creativity for this book and pouring out my soul. And I'll be honest, when you pour out your soul and you're honest about your intuitive guides, people are going to get hurt without you meaning to hurt them. Your children may have to choose choices that kind of suck. Like, people want to judge parents, and I used to be the same way, on how much of a relationship they have with their children as adults, right? And I just think I've learned that's not a fair approach, right? So, like, my mom and I, we have this weird dynamic between each other, but I've grown to love her as a mother, as a person. I've grown to learn a lot about her without getting into our personal chats and our private stories we share. And I've noticed that she's opened up a bit to me. Um, I don't know as though she intended to, but she did through our conversations, and I've received knowledge from her that softened my heart and made me have more compassion for her. And while we may not be out frolicking in the mall because we are definitely two different personality types, I love her to pieces, more so than I could ever express or feel until we had these moments in my 40s and I started being detached from outcomes and understanding myself, and that I'm not perfect. So why would I think my parents would ever be perfect, or my partner would ever be perfect, right? All I ever want to do is that connection. So when I've had, visits with my mom, she doesn't realize it, but we've connected in levels that just have brought me so much closer to loving her, to loving her as a mother-daughter relationship, to appreciating her in the same way that my dad and I had done the work earlier, right? And so it just takes different times. And so I think that as I continue on this path and my children go out and make their nest and their lives, whatever that looks like for them, they're going to have to come to those same choices of, I don't understand why my mom's doing the things she does or why she did the things she does, but she's happy, and I will often say that about my mom. She seems happy in her life, and as long as she's happy, I'm happy for her. I don't have to understand why she's happy. I don't have to understand what her love language is. I don't need to understand that. I mean, I guess I kind of do from a daughter-parent perspective, but I don't need to understand that from a relationship perspective. I don't need to look at my parents in judgment, basically, or anyone for that matter, right? Because we're all here to live our best life and do the best we can. And sometimes you have children that hold grudges. You have children that have their own healing paths. And for whatever reason, they have to walk their journey of healing to get back to a space where they can have the same thing I had recently, that aha moment of, you know what, shoot, my mom is just a human like me. And she even has a dark side and a light side. And, as much as she really tried to live in that light side, some of that dark side was playing around. And she also had needs of her own, and maybe those needs didn't align with parenthood and motherhood in the way that she wanted, and so she sacrificed for a lot of years without realizing, which caused a lot of that darkness shadow side playing, which I probably drank away with alcohol at night while the kids were asleep. I'd have a couple drinks, that sort of thing. And these were different things that I didn't notice until now. I'm in my 40s, so I know that some of my choices made my children go, what the actual heck is going on? But I invite my children to remember, just as I had to remember about my parents, that we're all imperfect, and that sometimes there's paths that our soul has to walk that will make no sense to anyone else. I don't try to make sense of what my kids do. Oh, I definitely don't. I'll be there for advice and guidance and love if they ever need it, and cheering them on as they turn each page in their life, and giving them a hug and giving them love virtually or in real life, no matter how close or apart we drift, because part of them is always part of me, whether they like it or not. And I have a feeling my middle child, when he's finally free and out there, he wants to explore the world and all these things. I don't think I'm going to see him as much as, maybe I see the other two siblings. And there's nothing wrong with that, because each of my children I know are like guided in different ways, and they've had different experiences, right? So they have to walk those paths, and I have to just love them from whatever space they're in and love them in that way. And they will have to learn how to love me in my space as I journey away from the immediate priority of motherhood toward the immediate priority of finding my feminine, my divine feminine, and trusting my guides, and knowing that, oops, I broke something that wasn't meant to be broken. Or maybe it was meant to be broken for a minute so that it could be mended better. I don't know. But I do know the decisions I made in the past 5 years were not necessarily intuitively guided. They were definitely more guided towards that season of my life where I was like, this must be better for the kids. And while I know there's going to be this aching in my soul because something's missing, it's enough of a peaceful, calm space that I'm going to make this choice. And I made this choice, and I've committed to it for a lot of years. And now I'm working with my tools and my therapy, my coaching, all these different tools and services to reconnect with God, so that so I can surrender to God and know that I know kind of what's not working in the human side, but I need to trust that my guides and that God is going to open a path that all of a sudden I'm going to go, okay, that path really hurt. That opening might hurt, but on the other side of that hurt is the path that I'm supposed to be in. I know it with all my soul. And part of being connected with my feminine energy again is in that surrendering to God, to source energy, to the universe, to the mission that I set forth to be here for. And that, on a soul level, I can feel the excitement, the possibilities, the pigs flying scenario. So until we meet again, I hope me sharing a little bit, albeit vague-ish, of my perspective of using tarot cards, of trusting your intuitive guide, of kind of having this knowing but not taking action on the human level, trusting and praying and setting intentions so that source or God, whatever you call the person or the creator, right? And just setting that intention out there, and knowing that if that intention is out there, there will be paths made if it's meant to be, for you. I think that's the part that we forget when we're talking about law of attraction, is that you can attract and attract and attract all you want, and you can manifest all you want, because you could manifest incorrect paths. But they're going to be correct paths, and that they're going to be more of a life lesson than solidifying your soul's existence and feeling that enlightenment that's so powerful, that so few get on earth because they're so darn afraid of detaching from outcomes. They've been so implanted with stuff that, like, well, if this and that. Listen, I'm not the same person I was. What, most are 22. I'm definitely not the same person I was 22 years ago. I'm sure as heck not the same person I was 18 and a half years ago. And I sure as heck am not the same person I was 16 and a half years ago. Also, I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago or 10 years ago. I know this with my whole being because I can feel the changes. I can look back at my writing and I can see my open-mindedness coming from a space of love and light, coming from a space of a woman who is 43 and now capable of kind of figuring out what she wants to be when she grows up and journeys out of the motherhood, the immediate motherhood circle, right? A lot of women get very upset, depressed, sad from this empty nest syndrome. And I will be honest, like, I am going to miss having my kids around. Like, I will be having that moment of allowing myself to mourn that passing of that season. And then I'll be welcoming with open hands, open heart, my next season without rushing, because what's meant to be will flow. And the flow doesn't always mean no heartache. It just means that you'll know it's right, and you'll have God powering you through the hard times, because God will show you this is right and you will have a knowing. And I can't explain that knowing, but for those of you who have surrendered in that way and understand, you get it. And for those who are listening, I pray that you will get to that point of knowing so that you can shed a little bit of that ego and really, really trust that what's coming to you, what's meant for you, will come to you. And my friends, seriously, don't forget to think about pigs flying. I mean, this is possible. The stuff that has happened in my life, the successes that I've had, the trials and tribulations, the experiences that I've been so blessed to have, the dark, the light, everything. I can't even put into words how blessed all of these paths are. And I'm extremely excited to see pigs fly. So, metaphorically, maybe physically, maybe in real life, but it's a metaphor. It's a dreamland, and I see really this two hands with love, and I am excited to feel this soulful love that I've had before, and I'm excited to see if I can if God gives that and grants me that again. Much love. Have a beautiful day, and sit on these thoughts a bit, and maybe journal if it so entices you to do so. And until we meet again, I wish you love and light, and I'm sending you so much love. Peace. Mwah. Love you.